All right, guys, welcome back. Market Mondays.
Yes.
Last episode of the year.
It's been a great.
It's the end like we started on money.
Hey, man, 51 weeks in a row, man. Congratulations to both of you. This is no easy feat, man. We've dedicated ourselves to being here every Monday for the people.
Yes.
People have made some money. People have made enormous amounts of money. Shout out to all y'all that have been executing all the information.
Yes.
Yeah, but congratulations to the whole team, man. I know Mike's in the background watching right now, so shout out to the whole team and the whole Mondays alumni, man. Everybody that's been on the show, we appreciate y'all for the whole year of 2023 and beyond. Love is love.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So made a lot of people a lot of money. One of the only programs.
The only.
Ever. Ever.
Shout out to the tweet and deleters. The only.
The tweet and the leaders.
Yeah.
Yeah. Choose wisely.
Yeah, I texted to you the other day, and I think I sent you the same message. This is like a unique moment in time where you can rely on something every week, get information from it, go back Tuesday morning, use it, and actually have real results, man. It's such a unique moment in time that hopefully we don't take it for granted, because you never know what happens. But while we're here, let's run it up.
But listen, every time y'all say that, people get scared. I get a text. Y'all leaving us? Shout out to everybody who say I sold my soul at the VP dinner. I didn't. It's going to take at least Bilderberg Group to make me do that. 1.2. I'm still here, right? It's just a humanoid cover for my reptilian body.
So application still pending.
1.2 will get the job done, though. Hey. But while we're here, enjoy. If I made you money, please put yes in chat. Like you said, it's one of the only shows that makes people money. The opposite of the Kramer effect. Shout out to Kramer. I love him dearly, but you know, we may have dropped 1 or 2 balls over the last year, but cost some grand. So we talked about HubSpot before we started. Doing kind of good, right? NVIDIA doing kind of good, right?
Yeah.
Data Tech doing kind of good, right?
I'd say.
Yeah.
350%. I'd say.
Not bad.
Take it.
And y'all had an amazing episode, Balloon. I know we're going to get to the show lineup for this week, but I watched that interview twice. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to Loon. The 1750 per 1,000 downloads is crazy, though.
Perspective is key. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perspective is key.
For sure. For sure. So, yeah, we're going to end the year strong. You know, you guys have succeeded. All of you disgruntled people and naysayers, you literally have made me sick. So I hope you're happy about that. But
pray for my brother Rashad. Let's get him some Theraflu.
He's gonna finish it like the champion he is.
The show must go on.
Flu game vibes.
For sure. So big week for Earn Your Leisure. We have Sonia Lewis. So student loan, this is something that this is a state of emergency situation because there's a few student loan situations that are expiring December 31st. So we actually was planning on putting it out in January, but we moved it up because this is actually extremely time sensitive. With Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness, he just forgave like $6 billion student loan. There's a lot of confusion around that. People don't know. And like I said, some of the stuff you only have like a week left to actually put your paperwork in and actually get. So long story short, this is a very important episode. Tuesday, tomorrow, 1 o'clock, student loans. So if you have student loans, or if you have a child with student loans, or if you have a child that's going to go to college soon, or if you're married to somebody with student loans, or you know somebody with student loans, this is a very educational episode. Talk about student loan forgiveness, talk about the different programs, talk about, you know, debt consolidation, all that type of stuff. So like I said, it's actually extremely time sensitive because 2024 some things are going to be changing. So that comes out tomorrow. And then today's the last episode of the season for Assets Over Liabilities. Shout out to Bum B. We went to Chill Burger out in Houston.
Yes.
Shout out to Houston. And yeah, we tasted the Trill Burgers. Immaculate. Elite. We interviewed Bud at Trill Burger. And that comes out on TV today. And then the YouTube comes out Wednesday. And like I said, this will be the last Market Mondays of the year. Next Monday is Christmas. But we do have a bonus episode of Earn Your Leisure next week. So we're not going to leave you completely stranded. But next week we'll be in Ghana. So we travel on Christmas night, and we'll be in Ghana on December 26th. So a week to get your tickets. It's almost over for that as well. So that's going to be a crazy show. We have Kevin O'Cherry, who is a billionaire in the oil and gas sector from Ghana. He will be joining us on stage.
Yep.
We got a few other surprises too that we will be bringing people out.
Can't wait.
Shoot, some of your favorites.
Sprinkle.
A few.
Some of
Gonna be good.
Yeah, we do.
So yeah, we're gonna be in Ghana all week. We're gonna be bringing in the New Year's in Ghana and all that. So yeah, man, definitely.
And bringing the slides out.
For sure. So
Pen ready.
yeah.
New targets to announce.
Tap, get your tickets. Link in the bio. Get your tickets. December 27th. And then I also, since we're not gonna be here next week, definitely want to give a happy birthday to my son Nasir. His birthday's next week. So it'll be 13. Time flies. Teenage.
Hey, that's crazy.
I was standing in this room when you called me to say that he was born. Yeah, I was like literally right there, like, what?
For sure.
Your dad.
So, happy birthday. God bless.
Birthday Nas.
And yeah, let's head into 2024.
Your brother's birthday too.
Oh yeah, my brother's birthday, December 29th. Happy birthday to us.
Yeah.
For sure. It's a lot of birthdays, Capricorn season.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the Capricorns out there.
That's a fact.
So yeah, we head into 2024, and we got a lot planned for Market Mondays. We'll be announcing some information soon. Thank you to Ally again for sponsoring the world tour. That was something
Thank you guys so much.
Never been done before. You know, we did LA, Chicago, Toronto twice, London, and then Ghana. We're going to end the year in Ghana. So that was something that we did in 2023, Market Mondays World Tour. We've done the Apollo with Market Mondays. We've done Madison Square Garden with Market Mondays, Houston. So yeah, 2024, maybe we might have a little different type of experience. Things up a little bit.
Elevated experience, yeah.
For sure. No more elite type vibes for select few people as opposed to the masses. I mean, we already gave out a garden, you know. We gave everybody opportunity. But maybe we might do a little bit, you know. Sometimes in life, less is more.
A more curated experience.
For sure.
Yes.
Hands-on learning.
Yeah.
But we'll figure it out. So yeah, look forward to that 2024. And yeah, once again, you know, thanks everybody for their support. And we're gonna have a great show today. We got Caleb Silver, our guy, chief editor of Investopedia, to talk about a variety of different factors. And we're gonna talk about the market and yeah.
How much I was right this year too. Clap it up for Ian. Hey. Yeah, y'all get your popcorn ready. I know Still Leather Jacket coming back this week, but I'm gonna do suit. You know what I mean? Yeah, this year was great. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for listening. If I made you money, please put us in chat. 2024 will be even better. And send some blessings to my guy Rashad. They tried to put the little dust on him to, you know. Y'all cool with y'all little voodoo tricks on my guy.
That's right. Yeah, man.
All right, y'all know how this works, man. Do your own research. Our content is intended to be used and must be used for informational purposes only. It's very important to do your own analysis before making any investment based on your own personal circumstances. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with or independently research and verify any information that you find on this show and wish to rely upon, whether for the purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise. Continue to do the research. Even when you hear it here, do the research. When you hear it elsewhere, do the research. And when it's great research, share it. Make sure you give credit to the person that gave it to you.
All right. So let's get into it. All right. Pfizer. Are we witnessing the death of Pfizer as the pharmaceutical industry wars heat up? Or do you think that they will have to recover in 2025? You've been very big on Pfizer. So is it over?
Death is such a finality, right? We're not there. Are we there?
We're not there yet, but they've grossly mismanaged the company. Too much debt, and also their blockbuster drugs. They no longer have the exclusive on, and we've seen Eli Lilly race to the forefront. Pfizer didn't rush to the weight loss drug epidemic mismanaged a few things over the last couple of years, and then they're saying guidance is down. For those of you in Stock Club, I told you it was coming down to these prices 5 months ago. So for those of you who are listening, who are like starting to load the boat now, great job. But I don't think Pfizer is over, but I would say that they're junior varsity in that pharmaceutical space now. Eli Lilly is clearly the leader there. Novo is great. You have a couple other players that I like a lot in the pharmaceutical space, a lot more, but Pfizer kind of took their foot off the gas and got comfortable. Also, when COVID panned out to be what it was, that had an effect on the bottom and top line. So I've been big on pharma, but I told everyone in Stock Club 6 months ago this will happen. Here we are. And this is why publicly I've always loved Eli Lilly, because the management is a hell of a lot better. The drugs that they have lined up for the next 10 or 15 years, immaculate, and they manage a lot better. So Eli Lilly is like the Apple of the pharmaceutical space. I do like Pfizer if it drops another $20 for like a long-term position to hold into 2026, but anything before there is triage.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting. I thought you were going to lead with the coronavirus part, because we always talk about stocks that had tremendous benefits from being obviously in the pandemic. Pfizer was one of them.
Yep.
We've obviously seen a pullback, but when a company reduces its guidance for the future, that's never a good sign.
That's never a good sign.
Right. And so that was one of the reasons it's like, all right, here comes a downtick in it. But when you think about innovation, where are they at? Everybody in the pharmaceutical sector is talking about their weight loss drug, their weight loss. Eli already has one. Pfizer is behind on that, right? They haven't quite had one that's to market that's been as successful. In addition, this year is kicking in one of their, when we always talk about mergers and acquisitions, one of their acquisitions is Seagen. They paid $43 billion for that. That kicks in at the top of 2024. Yeah. So if you're looking at declining sales, right, from post-pandemic, you're looking at the future guidance being lowered, you're looking at innovation, and now you're looking at debt that's being added to the bottom line. Tough. All these signs are negative signs when we're talking about the evaluation of a company. Now, this is a strong company. It's been here for years. But when you look at the trend is not in its favor. I don't know if I'm putting death on this yet. Not yet, or maybe not ever, but the declining trend is definitely clear.
I mean, walking pneumonia, lost $140 billion in market cap this year. And Pfizer's always had these tough declines. In 2000, they were at $45. They dipped down to about 16. They got to a high of $453. They're at 27 now. I mean, if Pfizer gets to 14, I will load the boat. I would like it at that price. I know they are expecting CGM to be like a blockbuster cancer drug, but after what happened during the Corona era, I don't know if people would trust them for a cancer treatment drug. The one thing that Eli Lilly does have in their favor, and when 2024 is going to be the year of things getting exposed and revealed, I don't think Pfizer has enough trust. And the one thing that Eli Lilly does have from the people is trust and great management. They expect to do $8 billion in revenue from its COVID vaccine. I don't see it. How? You think COVID is going to ramp up going into an election? It's not going to happen. So, but the thing that I do love, when I talk about like a decade like pullback, swing or load the boat opportunity, we may have one. If it cracks 14, definitely if it gets under 14, gets anywhere back to those 12 areas from like the 1996 era, I would love it. But always study how much a stock draws down. They have a history doing this. It happened in 2000s, happened in 2004. Of course, 2008 recession was tough. They're just going through that same cycle again. Set your alerts at $14. If it gets there, hold it for a 5-year period. It'd be great.
They said one of the things on the horizon for them is that they're going to start licensing their pharmaceutical assets, which could be a revenue generator. Like we always talk about, especially when we talk about retail, we talk about people licensing content, licensing retail.
That's what Adam did with Lena, right?
Say it again?
That's what Adam did with Lena. He licensed the content out.
He licensed one of his assets.
It's never like, why would you license out an asset?
So this is actually in their report. So that they're projecting to have an additional 30 to 45 billion in revenue by 2030, and this is one of the top line things that they're saying that could add it. So just wanted to put that in there. Pause.
This is kind of like when they were saying a certain OnlyFans star was making $30 million a month, and it was like we saw her, and it's like, I don't know if you got a Swiffer in your house. Like, it sounds good. Rashad, you ever called me and say the Steve Harvey episode? We're gonna get the license and the material,
but not always a bad thing, right? We've seen Disney, that's worked for them, right? We've seen them license.
Is it working?
No, it has worked for them.
Gotcha.
It might not currently be working for them, but even some studios have licensed out the content, and now they're getting it back. And now you're kind of seeing like, oh, now that Netflix would be a prime example, right?
Yeah,
studios license out material to them, and yeah, it was great on the books for that point in time. But then streaming becomes prominent, and now you want your content back, but you don't have the platform to actually put it out. And so now you're seeing mergers between these streaming platforms. So at one point in time, it worked, just not as well as it used to.
And the words of Jeezy, if it's taking too long to lock up, bring it back.
Bring it back.
She was short anyway, so bring a stack. Hey, Pfizer, listen, we was in a room this past weekend, so I'm learning not to say too much about too many businesses.
Thank you.
But you guys need to get your affairs in order. Eli, like we're seeing a change of a guard. Like we're almost 25 years into the century. At one point, IBM and AMD were the hottest thing in the chip space. NVIDIA came and took that crown, kind of like when LeBron came into the league. We're seeing a changing of the guard. Pfizer, great company, but Eli Lilly clearly is the king now. NVIDIA is clearly the king of the chip space. This is not a good sign, but I do like it at that $14 level. I love it at that level. And I would probably exit at $35 3 or 4 years later. And you can also put some options on it too, but not a good sign. Not a good sign. When you come out and ladies, this is the equivalent of your man coming to you December 23rd and say, baby, I'm broke. I don't got it. You ain't got nothing coming. Next year, you the baby. It's over with. Tough. You can sit it out. You may have to do that in your relationship and sit through a tough year or two, but in a stock, I don't want to do that.
Sit this holiday season out.
Yeah.
Well, let's bring up our esteemed guest.
Get your affairs in order. You know who always has their affairs in order? This gentleman right here.
Yes, one of my favorite people on earth.
Caleb, what's going on, my brother? How you doing?
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you as well.
Good shirt. Good shirt.
You kidding me? This is my uniform.
Hey.
Appreciate it. So yeah, Caleb Silver, good friend of the program, has been on the show a variety of different times, InvestFest, Royal Albert Hall, and he recently, he's the chief editor of Investopedia, a website that I've been using for years.
We all use there.
Yeah,
for sure. And I highly recommend it for anybody that's interested in learning more about investing in financial terms and financial literacy and business and stuff like that. But recently made some news by publishing a report that said that the average American family, parents would need $3.4 million to pay for the American dream for themselves and their family. So that's one of the hot topics that we definitely have to discuss. And just going into 2024, thought it would be a good idea to bring Caleb here and talk about year-end stuff as far as the markets, what to expect going into next year. Investing and all types of stuff always has a lot of value whenever he comes on. So first and foremost, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
So glad to be here. It's an honor to join you guys. I love it. And I'm so appreciative of what you're doing for educating people about investing and educating people about money here in your InvestFest gatherings, just in everything you guys do. It's been a joy to watch you grow, and I'm honored to be a part of it.
We appreciate you wholeheartedly, and you sit in the unique space, Caleb, of actually getting to see what people are interested in, what they're searching, what their habits are, the things that they want to know about. So I think it's incredible to have you here this week, man.
Thank you.
For sure. So let's get into it. First question is, let's talk about that. $3.4 million number, American Dream. And can you give us some more, details on that?
Sure, absolutely. So we're always looking at what people are looking for on Investopedia. And when we come to the end of the year, we look at the terms that pop the most. What were people searching for the most, either at one distinct period of time or what definition or term had the most consistent search, and American Dream was our top term of the year. People were looking for that throughout the year. So we got into that a little bit. Why were people looking up the American Dream? And the more we looked, the more we understood that it felt like it was out of reach for a lot of people, especially young people who feel like they're not going to be able to have a good financial life as their parents. They're not going to be able to do better than their parents. They may not ever be able to buy a home, given mortgage rates, given the high price of housing these days. So we got into it a little bit more, and we said, why don't we actually put a number on it? What would it cost today if you wanted to build the so-called dream? And to be completely candid, my dream and your dream are very different, and the dream of everybody listening is very different. But a reasonable expectation to build a family, raise a family, have a couple of kids, send them to school for a couple of years, have a couple of pets that live 15 years on average each, own 5 to 6 used cars over your lifetime, pay for health insurance, the cost of raising a kid, having a little bit of money, $750,000 set aside for 10 years of retirement. When we totaled that up, it came to $3.4 million. Again, your dream and my dream are different, but these are reasonable expectations for raising a family today in this country. And that does include buying a home. Not everybody wants to buy a home, but if you wanted to, and that was kind of what the dream was purported to be, right? Being able to do whatever you wanted to do in this country, no matter who you are. That's the purpose of the dream. The American Dream was actually coined in 1931 by an author in a book called Epic of America, James Truslow Adams. He wrote about the American Dream in the depths of the Depression when he was talking about a dream of a land in which life should be better, richer, and fuller for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement. Well, the financial services industry over the last 30 years turned that into owning a home, having retirement assets, being able to afford a college education for your family, being able to afford insurance, healthcare, and all those things. So just taking the reasonable expectations for what that is today, that's $3.4 million. But the problem, guys, is if you take the median income over a lifetime of earning, you get to about 2.3 million. So there's $1 million+ gap between what people are actually earning and what it costs to have those reasonable expectations to raise a family today.
So what would be, being that the average American is going to earn less than 3.4 million, right? What would be the suggestion? Like, what's the outcome of this study? So one thing is like, okay, you got, and actually I asked ChatGPT and they said that is what they actually put it at 1.7 million for average person. But
Just inflation.
so the first thing I would say is obviously it would pay to be in a two income household, because then that 1.7 turns to 3.2 and no 1.7, yeah, right, 3.2.
3.4.
3.4.
Yeah.
So that will put you right there, actually, if you're married, according to ChatGPT. But for people that are not in that category and are not on pace to earn that much money in their lifespan, what's the takeaway? What can they do to actually improve their situation to meet that challenge?
They should invest, right? How do you fill the gap? Where's that $1.1 million or whatever you're missing going to come from? It comes from growing your money, right? It comes from investing. That's one way of doing it, or changing the framework of your dream. Maybe you never wanted to own a home. Maybe that's not important to you. Maybe you don't drive. Maybe you don't have a kid, or you don't want to raise a family. But if you want to have those reasonable expectations for raising a family today, you're going to get to around that number. But you can change the numbers any which way depending on your lifestyle. But let's just say that is that 3.4 million and you're far away from it. Investing is a way to fill the gap. Making your money work for you while you're working is the way to make sure that you're getting to that number or beyond that number, so you can live even a little bit more comfortably. That's the point of this program, right? That's the point of what you guys are doing. Helping people build wealth, helping them find different pathways to build wealth over a lifetime. That's what we believe in, and I think that's the answer.
And plus, with the rate of inflation going up so high, it's going to be a mistake in 10 or 15 years if you don't own a home. So I know there's a big agenda for people to not own, but you have to invest for the long term. And you definitely have to look towards owning a home, because if not, I think the prices will probably double in the next 10 years.
Yep. own a home or own real estate properties that produce income for you. You have to have ways of producing money for you outside of your normal occupation. There's two ways to look at it, right? When you work, that's your labor. Those are your labor dollars that sustain you. But to put your money to work while you're working, get those two things going at the same time, that's how you generate wealth over the long term. And that's how you build generational wealth. But a lot of people just don't learn that, which is why I'm so impressed with what you guys are doing. You've been teaching people how to do this for a long time. That's the point, right? You have to build your wealth and have your money work for you.
Yeah. So in order to get to this 3.4, there's obviously things you said like investing. But I wonder, when you look at the search, the results from your searches, did anything stand out to you, right? Because if I'm looking at your top 10, number 10 was racketeering, which is pretty interesting. number 9, assumable mortgages. Number 8, bricks, which we've spoken about. Number 7, treasury bill. Number 6, debt ceiling. 5, inverted yield curve.
My favorite.
Number 4, certificate of deposit. Number 3, artificial intelligence, which I probably thought would be number 1. Number 2, bank failures, and like you said, the American dream. So as we're searching for these things, what's staring out to you guys as a company saying, all right, well, we got to feed more information. We got to figure out why people are looking at these things. What was glaring to you as you got those results coming back?
Yeah, artificial intelligence was actually our reader's pick for term of the year, and it makes a lot of sense. Not only was it a huge investing theme, note NVIDIA, note a lot of the AI-related stocks that had enormous outperformance this year, but AI touched every single industry that we pretty much encounter, right? It was behind the writer and actor strike in Hollywood. It was behind a lot of what's going on in the auto industry in terms of what that's going to turn into over the next few years. You just mentioned ChatGPT when you asked it how much it would cost to, how much a dual family would earn over a lifetime. So it's involved in everything that we're involved with today. And I think it's going to be a dominant theme going forward. So we have to do a lot more content around that, not just as an investing theme, but what does it mean for industries? What does it mean for the future of productivity in this country and around the world? But when you look at other things like bank failures, well, those popped because we were having bank failures in the spring. Banks are supposed to be boring, but they were anything but boring earlier on this year when they were failing, and the Treasury and FDIC were seizing them, but also taking extraordinary measures to bail out customers of banks, right? The FDIC only guarantees, and we did a show on this with you guys when this was happening back in last spring, they're only supposed to cover you for $250,000. Well, the Treasury Department said, we're going to cover you way beyond that. So that was really interesting. We've been in an inverted yield curve in one form or another all year, and that usually precedes a recession. We've been kind of waiting for a recession now for about 15, 16 months. Not saying we won't have one, but the fact that the dynamics have changed, right? If we had an inverted yield curve 5, 10 years ago, we would have had a recession like the next minute. But things are really different these days. So we had to get into more of that. And also, the assumable mortgage, that really stood out to us. Why? Because this is a way, if I want to buy your house, Ian, you just transfer your mortgage to me instead of me going out and getting an 8% mortgage. It's a unique way of doing transferring a mortgage and actually selling a house to another person. This was popping for us because people were looking for ways to actually own a home, be able to buy a home for the first time. So that's why this term was popping.
So more, okay.
In light of the bank failures and the excitement around AI, do you think with all the measures the government is taking that we're actually going to have a recession, or do you think they're going to push it off as long as possible and change what the definition of a recession is? Because like you said, when the yield curve inverts, normally the recession happens relatively quickly. We've been waiting, I think, 16 months now. Do you think it would ever happen, or do you think them absorbing some of the banks allowed us to not go into recession how we did in 2008 and 2007?
Yeah. Remember, Jay Powell, the Fed chair, said that the bank failures actually served as a form of monetary tightening in and of themselves, because what happened when the banks failed, banks got a lot tighter about lending. So money supply was even scarcer, which served the Fed's purpose of tightening money supply and making sure that inflation was coming down. So in a way, you had that, but also the lack of moral hazard, right? If we always think that the Treasury is going to bail us out if a bank fails, or the Treasury is going to bail us out like they did during the Great Financial Crisis, or the Fed's going to supply, bring rates down to zero and start quantitative easing again when things get a little bit gnarly around here, then there's never going to be a recession. It's never going to get that bad, right? So there's that notion that's going around out there that we're always going to have some backup one way or the other. So that that kind of changes the risk mentality for a lot of people. Think about it. The fact that we've been in an inverted yield curve in one form or another for the past 15 to 16 months, haven't had a recession. Not only that, guys, the stock market's up 22%, right?
That's scary.
We had bond yields north of 5%. The stock market's up 22%. These things shouldn't normally happen, but the fact that there is no moral hazard, I think, gives people an opportunity to take more risk, or makes them feel bolder about taking more risk and investing in stocks and risky assets. Look at crypto. So there's that's going on as well. And also the fact that, things are different, right? The appetite, you guys have been talking about BRICS this year. I've been watching the show. The appetite for U.S. Treasuries is not what it used to be. So if the U.S. Treasury is not as attractive to investors like the Bank of Japan and the People's Bank of China like it used to be, who's going to be the customer for the most important, most widely held, safest, in quotes, asset on the planet? That brings a lot into question. And where are you going to put your money in that case?
So the stock market has been going up this year, and mainly because of a few stocks in the tech sector. And we spoke to Mike Novogratz in the summertime. He said that he thought that there would be an AI bubble, but not for a while. And he said that, his guys early on told him Microsoft and NVIDIA were the stocks that, would lead the charge. And they've obviously done extremely well. Yes. So, being that artificial intelligence is obviously searched and talked about a lot, and that's been one of the major catalysts for the stock market going up. For 2024, do you think that trend can continue and we'll see another, wave of tech stocks riding this artificial intelligence wave, or will we start to see some turbulence?
Yeah, I think that AI is going to be a dominant investing theme for the not just next year, but beyond. Are we potentially in bubble territory? Well, you look at NVIDIA up over 250% so far this year. You have to scratch your head a little bit. NVIDIA is a great chip company, and it makes chips for AI-related activity, but so do a lot of others, and they've done very well at the same time. But I do think it's going to be the theme, like crypto was, like the early days of the internet, like the early days of telecom, like the early days of the railroad. These themes usually last 2 to 3 years. We survey our readers every 2 months to see where they think the biggest bubble is. They think the biggest bubble is in AI. That doesn't mean it's going to pop anytime soon. It just means that's the most crowded trade. That is where institutional investors and retail investors have been putting their money, and so far they haven't been proven wrong. Eventually, the air will get let out a little bit, but it is going to be the theme in which you can build a portfolio around going forward. And it doesn't mean it's AI. It's got to be AI stocks on the nose. It's going to be the AI ecosystem that's going to generate a lot of enthusiasm from investors. So everything from the chip companies that are supporting it, because chips are basically the transports of the 21st century, to the companies that are applying AI to increase their productivity, to improve their gross profit margins, that will eventually raise the share price.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Caleb, with the term, the AI ecosystem, because all industries are going to be affected by it, just because the technology that it brings. I wonder what your thoughts around media, right? Even for your business now, right? When we talk about AI, there's talks that OpenAI is actually about to purchase Politico, which has Business Insider, which means that they're getting information from publications. How does it affect your business? Is that something that maybe you're looking to now incorporate inside of Investopedia?
Yeah, we have to, because it's here, right? And you think about what we were founded on. We provide originally definitions to financial terms. Well, AI can do a pretty good job of that. You don't really need us for that. If AI can do it, they're just scraping the internet, including our site, to come up with those definitions. So that's a potential threat. But think about the way people come to Investopedia. You guys, and even me, I go to Investopedia all the time. I'm sitting right in it. But also, we come for a very distinct reason, right? We have intent. We're looking up a definition because we want to get smarter about something, or we want to make a decision. Roth IRA, 401k. What should I do with $10,000? ETF, mutual fund, right? You're trying to make a decision. You have intent. So the way we think about using AI is people are on a journey when they come to our site. They're on a journey to figure out what to do with their money. And sometimes that means, again, this or that. But we think we can use AI to help people go further down the journey to get what they're actually looking for, which is not to say that it'll ever write our articles. We're always written and edited by actual professionals, but to help people find the next step in what they're looking for, that's a pretty useful way to use AI. Now, across the publishing industry and across the media industry, AI is going to be a disruptor. There's no doubt about it. The question is, which companies are better set up to use it effectively so that they don't get their lunch eaten, but also to use it effectively to help their customers, to help their readers, to help their viewers get what they actually want. I think that's a great use case for AI. That's how we intend to use it.
For 2024, what business or sector do you think are enough people not looking at that could provide some good gains next year?
Yeah, I think obviously AI is the big dominant theme, but if you look around that, but also what's coming up, we're probably going to get approval of Bitcoin ETFs, right? Spot Bitcoin ETFs by the SEC. That's going to be a pretty big deal. So it's not just the crypto tokens that are going to do well, and they've already done really well in anticipation of that, but the picks and the shovels, right? The ecosystem around crypto, around blockchain, really, that's going to do pretty well because these products are going to become mainstream. And I think that's going to be super important for retail investors, but also for financial advisors that have customers like me that want exposure. So I would look at the ecosystem around crypto, not necessarily the tokens themselves, because they're unpredictable, except for a couple of the big ones, but the entire ecosystem, I would watch that pretty closely. Also, this is going to be one of those weird election years where there's going to be a lot of headline risk. But watching the entire market in an election year is very interesting. People are always think, well, what's going to happen if so-and-so gets elected to the stock market? Usually nothing. Usually there's a lot of noise around it. But what you usually have is a lot of noise, but not a lot of movement in either direction. But I would watch especially the solar areas, all that green technology that was part of the Inflation Reduction Act that was really a climate bill in disguise. A lot of those things are going to come into fruition this year. And depending on who wins the White House next year, that can continue going into the next few years. So green tech, climate tech, I think climate risk is probably the biggest risk out there. So anything around climate tech is going to be really important this year.
So let's talk about housing, because I'm sure that's probably something that's searched on your site a lot as well, real estate.
Oh, yeah.
And real estate has been going crazy for a long time. Recently, for the first time in a couple years, Manhattan rents have fell. Also, I saw Wall Street Journal posted a report. A few people have posted a report. We even posted about this, but yesterday they posted a report saying that it no longer makes sense to buy a home, as far as the price for a mortgage relative to the average rents. They saying like it's actually not in the best interest of most people to actually buy a home. So, and then, we talk about hedge funds buying a lot of single family homes, stuff like that. So where do you think we're at in the housing market right now? And how do you see that playing out?
Yeah. We know home affordability is at its weakest, lowest point ever, right? Relative to people's wages, what mortgage rates are, and the average price of a home. So home affordability is pretty much out the window for a lot of people. That said, buying a home is a huge emotional decision, but it's also the biggest asset most people are going to ever purchase in their lifetime. It is also, in a lot of cases, the foundation for building generational wealth. Why? You buy a home, you potentially hand it down to your children, who hand it down to their children, becomes the family home. So I always think it's going to have that special place in our hearts. The fact that it's not affordable these days is kind of heartbreaking if you think about it. So either we're going to have a lot of construction of new homes, which means there's going to have to be demand, which means mortgage rates are going to probably come down, which we know they're already coming down. So we're going to have a boom in building of single family homes to meet the demand for the new home buyer that really wants a piece of that so-called American dream. I think the spring and the summer is going to be a reawakening for the housing market, as mortgage rates have already come down below 7%. When they crack that 7% number, guys, activity heats up right away. Mortgage refinancings, mortgage applications, all that comes back right away because people are so hungry to buy, whether that is individuals who are trying to buy their first home, people trying to buy their second home. And remember, people that own their homes, 50% of people that own homes in America today have a mortgage rate below 5%. So they have been disincentivized to sell, right? They're not going anywhere because they're not going to go out and get a house at 7% or 8%. So they're stuck. They can't sell. Buyers that want to buy can't buy. This is all going to crack and thaw come the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter, going into the spring season. I think we're finally going to have a revival of the housing market, which is great for housing stocks, and great for the stocks around housing, right? To furnish your home, to add the sunroom onto your home, to add a new roof or whatever you need to do. I think you're going to have a reawakening of that. And I think that's going to be good news for the economy. Also good news for people that are trying to get into their first home.
That's crazy. You just said that, and that was in the Wall Street Journal yesterday. Buyers are ready to buy, but the sellers are not selling, right? Because you have a large population of people that have interest rates that are pretty low, and they're like, all right, we're just going to sit here and wait. One of the other percentages in a piece I was reading was the amount of Americans that own stock. I think the number is at 60%, which is really encouraging, right? When we had a year like 2022, I'm assuming, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is the amount of traffic that you're seeing declining as the stock market goes down. And now in a year like 2023, when we see the NASDAQ is up, the S&P is up, Dow is obviously up, we start to see that traffic increase. How does that ebb and flow work for a company like you?
Yeah, no, we get a lot more traffic when the stock market is hot, right? We need volatility and we need a lot of action in the stock market. It's natural. People would come to Investopedia during a time where they're making decisions about what to invest in, should they invest, how to invest. The flip side of that is it's not just stocks and equity related information on Investopedia. So in 2022, when we were in that dire bear market, things were spinning out of control. The flip side of those higher interest rates was that there was finally money in the bank, right? You can get 5% in the CD, 5% in the money market, 5% in the high yield savings account. So when traffic goes down in investing, it goes up in saving for us. And it goes up in things like insurance. So we have a kind of a balance. Think about it like a basketball team. The second unit comes in and they're better on defense and maybe working the ball up court. That's how it works here at Investopedia. But we prefer a bull market 100% of the time because that's where a lot of the activity is. So this year has been good, but it's kind of been a slow grind higher, right? It hasn't been this boom, off to the races. Now, the last few months have been more aggressive as the Fed has indicated it's done raising rates. And now since last week, when the Fed said there'll probably be 3 rate cuts next year, traffic's been on fire because the stock market and the crypto markets are really hot right now. But we always have some balance one way or the other. We just prefer a nice hot bull market.
What advice do you give to a person who may have missed out on the bull run of this year? And I also want to get your take on, like, all the information is there on Investopedia, all the definitions, insights, strategies. Why do you think people have such a hard time sticking with the plan through and through, even though it's proven to work over the course of time?
Right here, Ian. Yeah. This is our problem, right between our ears. It's our animal spirits that tell us to run when we should stay, tell us to stay when we should run, right? We let our emotions take over instead of having a plan. Now, what I love about what you do through Red Panda and everything else that you do is you actually have a plan. You have a strategy. If you veer from the strategy, you do it for a very specific reason, and you make a note of it, right? There is a plan. If we're breaking the plan, we better know why, and we better make sure we note why we did it. People don't go with an investing plan. They go with an emotion. Or they heard something on Market Mondays, or they heard you say something in another interview, and that's why they're going to do that, and then it doesn't work out. And it's like going to the casino for the first time and you flush $60 away and you leave because you had a terrible time.
Yeah.
This is not a casino. This is a long-term marathon, right? So having a plan and sticking with the plan is super hard. It's okay to veer from it as long as you understand why. So I think that's it. Anybody that missed the bull market of 2023 or the recovery from October of 2022 to now, guess what? And we were talking about this earlier this year. There's always a bull market somewhere, right?
Absolutely.
So if you missed, the big run up in AI stocks, if you missed the NASDAQ 100's 50% run so far this year, guess what? Small caps are popping right now. There's a bull market happening right there. If it's not small caps, it's going to be another part of the market that's going to move. So it's about sector rotation, like knowing which way the wind is blowing, so you can say, I think it might be time for this sector to activate, or just saying, look, I'm comfortable being an index investor. As long as I contribute regularly, I know I'm good for 8 to 10% a year on average, and that should be good enough for me as long as I'm consistent with my investing plan. I'm the editor-in-chief of Investopedia. I have exposure to the most high-end professional investing research there is, but I don't go out and speculate and buy individual stocks. I'm a boring index investor and an ETF investor because I'm not smart enough to outsmart the market. I'm smart enough to keep consistent with my plan and keep adding every month to it, every single month, like clockwork, until I'm done investing. And that's not for a good 25, 30 years.
So let's talk about politics. So it is political season and a political election. So historically, the S&P 500 has risen 6% during the first year of a presidential term, and then slightly lower than average for the second year. The third year historically has shown 17.5% increase in S&P 500, which is interesting because it's actually up 20% this year. So it's like right in line with that. And then the last year is usually 10%. So I have a few political questions, but the first one is that if all indicators point to this, then we should see another double-digit year in stocks next year as the last term of at least the first term of Joe Biden's presidency. So, A, what's your thoughts on that? And then also, I have a follow-up question for politics. So, I did some research, and 10 of the last 11 recessions after World War II happened during a Republican presidency. One has happened during a Democratic presidency. So, a lot of people say that Democrats are better for the economy, obviously, right? But then you can make a case, well, it might have been caused from the previous election candidate, and then that's kind of residue that bleeds into the next presidential cycle. And an interesting thing for Wall Street, who traditionally had backed Republicans, but last presidential cycle, they actually broke from that and they backed Democrats more. And they gave Biden more money than they gave Trump, which looks like it probably would continue this year, I would think. And it might even be a wider gap where you see Wall Street put $2.9 billion into the election last year, which was a record. And it'll probably put more money this year.
It'll probably be 4 this year. Yeah.
So there's a variety of different questions and statements that I just made there. But what's your thoughts on the political process, Democrats, Republicans, Wall Street, and what should we expect from the stock market?
I'll answer the question, but let me ask you guys a question first. Of all these presidents, which one had the best returns while they were in office? Clinton, Obama, Reagan, Trump, Grover Cleveland, right? Bush 2. Which one of those presidents, or Biden, which one of those presidents have had the best returns during their time in office?
I believe it was Obama, at least for the first year.
Or Reagan.
At least he was there for 8 years. So, but at least for the first year, because I know that that I was a financial advisor working, and I know the stock market went up like 40%, but it was down like 35% the year before that when Junior had it.
Took over, yeah.
So that was a disaster.
Are we factoring in quantitative easing or taking it out? Because that
just during their term.
So I would say Obama. I would say Obama,
and then Reagan second.
You see, everybody thinks that, but it's actually Clinton. Why?
I was going to say Clinton. I was going to say Clinton too.
I didn't give my answer.
Clinton was president during the internet boom, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
So, did President Clinton have anything to do with the internet boom? Not really. He just happened to be in the Oval Office during that time. He had a lot of other things.
Al Gore invented the internet.
That helped.
Right. Al Gore invented it. Right. So
having a VP like that helps.
The president loves to take the credit for a booming stock market and take no blame when things don't go well. When Trump came into office, what did he do? He cut the tax rate. The stock market took off. Everybody thought when Trump goes into office, stock market's going to tank. Well, what did he do? He cut the tax rate, right? Yeah. Which was a big boom for Wall Street, which drove the stock market really high until COVID, right? Which then tanked the stock market. So it's like they are subject to whatever is going on at the time, and they love to take a lot of credit. So I don't like to give presidents a lot of credit for what happens during to the stock market, because they don't have a lot to do with it. That said, they do appoint the chair of the Federal Reserve and a lot of the Fed governors, which can affect monetary policy. Do I think that Biden picks up the phone and says, Jay Powell, I think you better pencil in 3 rate cuts next year, and you better tell everybody about it, because we need a little kicker here going into the, into the next 10 months here going into the election? Maybe. They say they don't. I don't really think that they do. That said, if you look at what happens when a Democrat's in office and a Democrat gets elected president or reelected president, the return is something like 11% that year. If a Democrat's in office and a Republican is elected, the return is like 12.6%. the following year. Pretty even, right?
Yeah.
If it's a Republican in the White House, but the Democrats control the Senate, then you have gridlock. Good for investing because nothing gets done, or vice versa. If nothing gets done and there's gridlock, investors can see the future. And the fact that you can see the future is what we need as investors. We need clarity, right? We need visibility. If you don't have visibility and things are unpredictable, that's when things get a little kooky in the stock market, and that's when things don't go well. So it doesn't necessarily matter, in my opinion, who's in there. It does matter if it's a Republican president and a Republican-controlled House, and they can do whatever they want, or a Democratic president and Democrat-controlled House, and they can do whatever they want. That does make a difference, but ultimately it doesn't make a difference who's in office, right? We couldn't figure out who had the best returns. They are literally subject to whatever's going on around them at the time. So that's something I would pay attention to. What's more important, guys, is the question of what happens to the stock market the year after 20% plus returns. Guess what? The market usually goes up between 8 and 10% that next year. That's the thing you need to pay attention to, not who's going to be there on January 20th taking the oath.
Do you have to take into account geopolitical affairs, right?
Totally.
China, U.S., China, Taiwan, obviously what's happened, Ukraine and Russia, what's happening, Palestine, Israel.
100%. But you would do that.
How do you navigate that as a publication inside of an investment strategy?
Yeah, well, if let's just say, the Middle East, the situation in the Middle East, which is terrible, let's say that gets worse, and then we have other countries getting involved, and all of a sudden that entire area and where oil comes from is impacted. Well, we thought that was going to happen, but guess what? It hasn't happened, right? Oil prices have done nothing but go down since October 7th, right? In Russia, Ukraine, the first thing that happened was oil prices spiked till about $125 a barrel. Wheat prices and bread prices spiked. That actually makes a difference. 10% of the supply comes out of there. Guess what? Those prices have all come down except for bread prices. So it does matter, and it does impact things in the near term. In the long term, though, we haven't seen that big of an impact, but you have to pay attention to it. And when we come out with our 2024 outlook, we'll be looking at geopolitical things like, what will oil prices do next year? Well, right now they're below $80 a barrel or around that range. What's going to make it drive them higher? It's going to be OPEC and OPEC plus tightening supply even more, or an intensification of activities in that Middle East area where more countries get involved, and then anything can happen.
Yeah, I know you love index funds, but if you were to pick a sector that doesn't give you a bunch of stress, if you had to put a bunch of capital into it, what two sectors do you really like that will give you some calm or ease going into it for 2024?
Yeah, healthcare, health tech, right? A lot of them are big dividend payers. I think we're an aging population. I don't think that goes out of style at all. Healthcare prices just continue to go up. Health insurance premiums just continue to rise every year. I think that's just going to be with us. Now, there's the promiscuous side of that, which is risky stocks. But I think that, you were just talking about Lilly a little while ago. A lot of these stocks are creating these, have these blockbuster drugs and are in a good position to serve an aging population. That sector is pretty reliable. I like utilities just because of the dividends, right? Pretty consistent dividend payers over time. There's not going to be a lack of demand for utilities going forward. So those will make you sleep a little bit easier at night. I think the banking sector is still a little bit risky, but ultimately it should be a pretty steady, boring business. Hopefully it returns to that at the end of the day. We'll see about that. But if it's got to be healthcare for me and utilities.
So you said that you only invest in index and ETFs. Do you favor like one sector, like QQQ, or you just kind of spread it out like, XLY, XLK? Like what type of ETFs and index? Well, index, I'm assuming S&P 500, but what type of ETFs do you personally favor?
Yeah, the Qs for sure. Give me I have the need for speed, but hard to be wrong with the Qs. But also, years ago I started buying these water-related ETFs, right? Water producers, private water owners, robotics and AI. I was buying that as of a few years ago. I always buy the semis because like I said, I think, and I borrow this from Josh Brown or Jason Perez, one of them invented it, but they are the transports of the 21st century, right? Yep. And then anybody that's using our data, and that's everybody using our data these days, as a currency, I think those sectors are important right now. So those are the ETFs that I generally buy, but I do spread it out. I do stay away from oil, gas, and firearms. I'm married to a conservation biologist, so I'm not allowed to invest in. We're not allowed to invest in fossil fuel related ETFs. So I stay away from those.
Socially responsible investing.
So QQQ, SMH, what's the water
SOX, the SOX,
That's
Philly Semiconductor Index, Robo, the water one I don't have in my hands. Also the dividend ETFs, Noble I think is one of them, and there's a couple others that I buy. Schwab has a good dividend. I think it's SCHD. SCHD, that's the Schwab dividend ETF. I like that one a lot too. I keep buying those pretty consistently. And then I also have custodian accounts for my kids and my nephews, and we pick ETFs together that they like.
Very wise investor. Caleb, this is going to be a perfect segue right now because you've written down your 6 golden rules of investing. And so I would love for you to lay it out for the people going into the new year, having a strategy. Maybe they can implement some of the things that you're using as an experienced investor, and they can add to their portfolios.
Yeah, I'm going to do this, but I want you guys to chime in because I've been really looking forward to sharing this with you. The first one's obvious. Start early, right? The earlier you start, the better. I always tell this to kids. I do a lot of high school classes, and I say, how do you double your, what's the easiest way to double your money? And they always come up with, oh, buy crypto or, buy a house. No. If you put $10,000 in the S&P 500 10 years ago and you went away and joined the circus and didn't look at it, what would it be worth today? 25 grand, right? That's how you double your money. The earlier you start, the better. Yeah. So starting early is the answer to everything. And you don't, compounding is one of those things where we talk about it. Yeah, over time, your money produces money. When you're young, you don't feel it. But then, I think you guys will appreciate this. You see compounding you see it all at once, right? It's like nothing. And then, oh my gosh. Yeah. You look at your portfolio and you're like 40 and you're like, whoa, that's time. That's the magic of compounding. That's why Einstein called it the 9th wonder of the world. So starting early really helps you realize that if you start at 25, at 45, you're going to give yourself a huge hug, right? That's the obvious one. Number 2, determine your risk tolerance. What is your sleeplessness factor, right? What's that commercial sleepies? Like, what's your sleep number? What's your sleeplessness factor? How much of a drawdown can you stand before you can't take it anymore and you tap out? Ian, what is your sleepless number?
55%.
65?
55.
55%.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
Sleepless as far as like the drawdown?
Like, I can't take it anymore, drawdown.
Rashad's more conservative, so like 15%.
What'd you say?
20%.
Yeah. I had to, I'm glad you put that because it's something that I actually had to figure out for myself. I've seen drawdowns go 70%. I'm like, what am I doing? So then I had to implement a plan. So now it is around that 55 to 60 range. If it gets there, it's like, all right, done. This didn't go right. Let's go back to the drawing board and figure out what we did wrong.
Yep. Also, too, really quick, I think people have to figure out what their tolerance is for missing out. I don't know if you guys saw the report, but if you invested in Home Depot, after compounding, you'll be up 1,000,000% from 1981. So we have to also determine if you miss out for 7 years, if you miss AMD for 7 years or NVIDIA for 7 years, what is that going to cost? So not only factoring the drawdown, but how much you're going to miss out on the upside as well.
Right. That's a great point. And people don't do that math.
Yeah. What's the bulletproof number that you need in liquid investable assets to become bulletproof, do you think?
I love this talk.
It depends on who you are and how much it costs to be you. Ultimately,
you live in New York, you live in Manhattan, so we have similar type of lifestyles. You personally, or your circle.
What's my bulletproof number where I need to be liquid enough?
Yeah,
probably about $1 million.
That's it.
And probably more.
Wait, I was just running the calculation in my head. I think it's getting expensive.
I'm about to say, Caleb, are you riding a skateboard everywhere?
When I mean bulletproof, I mean like ride off into the sunset. Like I could just leave.
Okay.
I can leave tomorrow. Live off my investments.
That's 7 to 8 mil. I can live off that.
Okay.
I can definitely live off that number, but it would not be in this town. It'd be out in New Mexico, where I'm actually from.
Yeah, because
We're packing the skateboard up. We're
That's
out
right.
of here.
That's right. We're riding west. So again, determine your risk tolerance. That's number 2. And you mentioned it, Troy. It's like, what's your drawdown? Remember this: a 35% drawdown requires a 50% gain to get you back to par. Right? A 50% drawdown. Now you're talking about 100%.
yeah.
So as you get deeper into the drawdown, it takes a lot more to get you back. I remember we had Kathy Wood at InvestFest, last August, and who's terrific. But that fund was down something like 75%. It's made a comeback, but it's still got a ways to go, right?
Yeah.
To get back to par. But you could buy it at different levels and dollar cost average your way in. All right. Number 3, know what you own. And I know, Ian, you really believe in this as well. You asked me about what index funds and ETFs I invest in. I invest in those that I think are around sectors that I think are going to continue to grow and be important over time. But you have to unpack the ETF or the index fund to see what's actually in it. And knowing what you own, whether that's an individual stock or an ETF or an index fund or a bond or whatever it is critically important to make sure you believe in it, for one, and B, to understand the financials behind it. Because if the balance sheet ain't right, it doesn't matter how attractive it is or how much you like the CEO or how cool the product is. If you don't know what you own, you don't really understand what you're investing in.
I agree.
Number 4, and we talked about this earlier, taming your animal spirits, shutting your mind up, right? Because they will tell you to run when it's time to stay. They'll tell you to be greedy when it's time to be fearful. They'll tell you to be fearful when it's time to be greedy. So taming them and actually having the plan, because I can't tell you how many times in 2022, and I'm experienced, I was like, I gotta get out. I can't take it. I'm glad I didn't, right?
Yeah.
I'm back way beyond where I was in 2022 in my own portfolio, because what did I do? I didn't jump out. Instead, I said, let's reassess. Let's sector rotate a little bit. Let's trim some positions here, do a little tax loss harvesting, and then let's dollar cost average into the things that I believe in. The things that I believe in, which were the Qs, which were the semis, those have more than doubled this year. So, being able to actually tame your mind is super important. That's it. Tame
How
your
do you
animal.
shut off the reptilian brain, though?
Yeah.
What's that?
How do you shut it off?
Yeah, when you go to reach to that sell button, you have an electric shock that sends a shockwave through your arm into your brain that says, "Don't do it." No, it's actually having the plan. And in my case, I also have a financial advisor, so I have my own portfolio that I do stuff with, and then I have the big pile that they help me manage. And we actually had a lot of conversations about it. So every time I was tempted and got them on the phone, they'd be like, "Remember, we actually have a plan, so you can do this." But this is the ultimate consequence of this if it doesn't go the way you want it to. So having that understanding and that education and professional advice was super important for me. But I've also been burned so many times. I've been on the show, we talked about my worst mistakes, and my worst mistake was Lehman Brothers. Buying it at 80, buying it at 50, buying it at 20, buying it at 9, buying it at 2, and then ultimately losing $10,000 when I was like 32 years old and I couldn't afford it. That hurt. So I got the scars to prove it.
Do you have the button as well on the upside? Because I mean, I've even experienced that. I'm sure Ian's experienced as well, where you're watching a company that you had in your portfolio, on your watch list. You were waiting. I know Chipotle was one of those for me. Even some Meta this year. You're watching it, you're like, oh, it's at an all-time high. I'm gonna do it. No, my intelligence, my experience, my tolerance tells me, wait for a pullback, wait for it to come down. What is my target number?
Yeah, you have to have the target numbers. And then once you buy something, I always like to put the stops in and the limits in, just because it'll get me to stop making bad decisions. So once I put that stop or limit in, I'm like, it's there. I set the number.
Yeah, that's a new Apple feature. I was telling, like, anytime you do something like a hand gesture, like a thumbs up, it'll put that up. So you just probably put your hands up and did the celebration. Yeah. No, you gotta hold. If you hold your thumb up, it'll put a thumb up.
I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. So, those will help you. Those will help guide you. Now I can always adjust it. If I'm like, I stopped out over here, but I feel like there's still momentum, then I can raise it a little bit, but I make the conscious decision. And, professional traders, and I'm not one of them, but I actually use some of the tools, is you make that note to yourself. On this day, I raised my stop because I felt like there was more momentum. Why did I do that? This is what I was thinking at the time. I want to be able to refer to that. So when I look later, I say, why did I actually make that decision? There's a record of it. It's important to actually have that journal. All right. Set it, but don't forget it. Rule number 5, people always say, no, don't look at your 401k. Don't look at your brokerage account. That's BS. Look at it. It's yours. It's your money. So don't look at it obsessively. Don't look at it every hour. Don't look at it in the middle of a market crash. But it's okay to look at it. Look at it. Know what's going on. It's your money. If you want to just be an index investor and set it and let it go, that's fine. But make sure you're looking at it at least 2 or 3 times a year, definitely quarterly, and definitely right at this time of year if you're only going to look at it annually, to make sure that you are comfortable with what you have, right? Regimes have changed. Sectors have rotated. The stock market is in a big rally mode right now. Are you still sitting back in the oil and gas stocks from 2022? I know I'm not, but things that did well last year aren't going to do well now, right? So know what's in it. Make sure you're comfortable with it. Rebalance it, right? That's really important. So anybody that tells you don't look, it's yours. It's yours to look at. It's yours to manage. It's your money. You're the CEO of your own money. It's your responsibility. Last one, be a tax smart investor, especially this time of year, right? If you got losses, tax loss harvest. Use those losses to offset your income tax, right? Your tax penalty. But also think about it. You shouldn't trade in your 401k because that triggers taxes, right? You shouldn't trade your Roth IRA. You can keep adding to it because that triggers taxes. Think about what you're buying. If you're buying things like muni funds, that's a tax advantage product. If you're thinking about what to start, Roth IRA, IRA, SEP account, like what's the most tax advantaged account that you could put your money in? So taxes are a big part of investing, Rashad. You know this. You're a financial advisor. People don't realize that. And when people trade a lot, they hyper trade, they're generating taxes also. Those long-term capital gains or their short-term capital gains, those eat away at your returns over time. So Absolutely. Be tax smart about it and don't just think that you have no consequences on the tax front. You always do, and you have to be aware of those. Those are my 6 golden rules.
If there was one mistake for 2024 you want everyone to avoid when it comes to investing, what would that be?
I think it's going to be really easy to want to follow the herd, and the herd is going to be aggressively buying stocks as interest rates come down. Interest rates are going to come down, but know this: when the Fed lowers interest rates, it's not always because things are so good, right? It's because there could be trouble in the economy and they're lowering interest rates to jumpstart the economy, add more money into the system, right? Make money cheaper to borrow. That's generally good for stocks, but the stock market is way ahead of monetary policy. It's always been that way and will always be that way, right? The stock market and the economy are very different. So the temptation will be to follow the herd, and we may have had a lot of that big rush into the Qs and into the growth part of the market and certainly into the crypto market. And we may not see that follow throughout the rest of the year. I do believe we'll have solid gains in 2024. Like I said, the year after a 20% plus gains year is usually pretty decent, but it's pretty much on average with the stock market, which is 8 to 10% a year. So don't think that the bottles are going to be popping all next year as the Fed lowers rates. The stock market's anticipated that a long time ago.
So before you leave, last question for me. And thank you for coming. Greatly appreciate crypto. That's going to be something that's going to be really big in 2024. Yeah. What's your thoughts on the overall crypto market? And what's some commentary on crypto? Yeah.
Look, the big coins have remained the big coins, right? Bitcoin, Ethereum, right? These are the most widely held. And we're going to get approval of these spot Bitcoin ETFs going in probably the first quarter, if not the second quarter of 2024, which makes this a more retail product, right? Crypto has been for people that have been a little more adventurous. We know there's some big whales that own it, but all of a sudden you're going to have an ETF wrapper around a spot Bitcoin ETF, and you have the biggest asset managers in the world that are ready to custodian those assets. So I'm talking about Fidelity, and I'm talking about BlackRock, Franklin Templeton. This is like a 150-year-old money management firm that sells mutual funds is going to be able to custodian your crypto assets. It's going to become a lot more mainstream. Plus, we have a big halving event for Bitcoin coming up in April. What does that mean? Well, as you guys know, Bitcoin is a software that is ultimately mined, right? And there's only 21 million or so Bitcoin ever out there, as was intended by Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin. When Bitcoin halves, it takes longer to mine or process a Bitcoin, right? You go from 6 1/4 to 3 1/8. takes longer to mine them, which means the scarcity aspect becomes even more important, and it usually drives the price up of Bitcoin. It always does beforehand, and it always does after. So I think even though we've had pretty big gains for Bitcoin, I think 150% so far this year, I think you're going to have even more as it becomes a much more widely accepted retail product through the ETF wrapper, custodian by the biggest asset managers in the world, plus a big halving event at the end of April. I think that's pretty good. And as Bitcoin goes, sort of the other coins, right? Bitcoin's kind of the big dog, and the other ones kind of follow in its wake. Even though some of them have other purposes, I think it's going to be a good first half of the year for cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate your time as always.
Thank you so much.
Definitely would recommend everybody to go to Investopedia if they have any questions. And any last words for the year that you would like to leave the audience with?
Yeah, stay invested, keep investing, but be smart about it. Keep watching Market Mondays. Keep following these guys because they have been educating you and their audiences for years about this. And you guys are doing such a tremendous job. It's an honor to be a part of it. And I wish you all well. But this is a year where you have to be smart, but also stay in the game, stay invested always.
We appreciate you, my brother Caleb Silver. It is always a pleasure. And you still owe us the Carvel. I didn't forget about that.
I was going to drive it up today. I'll drop that off. You like the sprinkles, right?
Sprinkle. He does. Real quick.
We appreciate you.
I appreciate you so much, brother.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. Have a happy New Year.
You too, man. All best of the fam.
Oh, man. Caleb's a great person.
Super knowledgeable, man. Super
Absolutely.
knowledgeable. Yeah.
For sure.
And just a great human being.
Yeah, great person to be around.
Yeah, outside of him being on it, Market Mondays, coming to Invest Fest, he will just randomly text information. Is always checking in on how we are doing, but more importantly, he's always asking, "How can I add value? How can I help? What do you guys need?"
He follows up and does it.
Oh my gosh! And I'm glad he brought up Kathy Wood. It was one of those things when he actually initiated the contact with her team. Was like, how can I help? Who can I reach out to? I'll do it. I would love to. And he reached out to Kathy's team, and we were able to get her investors. But that was because Caleb saw that we were adding value to the community and wanted to help us. So again, just a great human being.
Yeah, and even a person he was trying to connect before that. Like,
we're not done. We're not done with that. We can't. We didn't. I left that out. It's very intentional.
Boy,
we left that out very intentionally. Ian. We're still working. We're still working.
Cliffhanger. Y'all show some love to my boy Rashad. Flu game. Still dropping buckets.
For sure. God, so shout out to Caleb, man. Highly respected journalist. You could play games or you can make money.
Choose wisely. Choose.
Better to make the moolah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Been with made people. Connected people. Who you been with? Chain snatching. Pocket picking.
Stop it. Stock Club call will be this Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central. Will be the last one of the year. Tune into Assets of Reliabilities. Who's the guest? Oh, Bun B.
Trillburger.
Grab and a veggie burger's fire too.
Immaculate.
Incredible. Fire, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bun B.
Yeah.
All right. The EV market. Has the EV market flopped in light of recent attempts, or do you think it will make a comeback next year?
GM and Ford is having a hard time. I'm going to go on record and say yes. They're going to push clean tech, of course. One day we're going to have an honest conversation about the EV space. It won't be this year. Maybe how many more years are you going to do the show? That last episode? I'm going to tell y'all some things about EV. But until then, Tesla, preeminent leader. Whenever I say preeminent, I'm about to cape. Tesla, preeminent leader for sure. But I think GM and Ford don't have the capacity nor the trust. Now, the only issue that Tesla has, well, not only, but one of the main issues they have is they don't have the best relationship with the White House, and the White House is trying to make sure, or the Biden administration is trying to make sure that he does not gain further dominance in the space. But overall, I don't see that many people wanting to buy electronic vehicles. And Teslas are having a big issue of, remember when we talked about discounting prices? If you own a Tesla from 2 years ago, you're underwater. So imagine buying a car and driving it off the lot and you're losing $10,000 in value. But then 2 years later, your car is undervalued by $32,000. It's amazing to be able to lay back like you in a Maybach and it drives itself. But it's not good when your car is underneath that much. And like I said, Tesla has to decide if they're going to be a luxury brand or affordable. Because of inflation, almost every brand on earth is going to have to move into the luxury space to be able to have enough money for R&D, have enough profit margin, hire employees, and to be competitive. So I think we're seeing the end of the era when we're having low price features. But if you look at Tesla over the last 10 years, return has been 2,434%. Hope for the long term you'll be good. It's still one of my favorite stocks, still a top pick in Red Panda Stock Club. But most of the other players like Rivian, Lucid Motors, they have not fared too well. Even though I do like the Rivian truck. When we was in Miami, I saw a couple.
Right, yeah.
But I don't like the stock.
Yeah, I don't know about the sector itself. I know Canada just made EV mandatory by 2035 today, which is interesting. We've seen a couple of states here, but it's not on the federal level yet. I think the production is a part that people got to really take into account, right? When we're talking about the amount of vehicles that Tesla can produce, and yes, there has been an increase over the past 3 years, but on a large scale for some of these other traditional motor companies, it's a fraction, right? And then you have new companies like Rivian, and we're celebrating 100,000 made it in a quarter, and it's no knock to Rivian, but the production, when it has to be a large scale for a mass amount of people, it just hasn't gotten there yet. It's even from a tax incentive. I know people who have gotten EVs, there's tax credits, but depending on who's in an administration, that tax credit could be gone. Right? I know it was like $7,500. There's some talks if there's some models you can get up to $10,000 in rebates, but December 31st of this year that could change, right? Like you just never know. And so the incentives to have it have been dwindling. So we'll see. I don't know if it's dead. It has slowed down because Tesla is so far. They're so far in the front that I'm not sure.
He's sick of y'all too, GM. I'm gonna keep it 1,000. Listen. Just don't invite me to the Secretary of Defense house, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, what
GM,
said, man.
You gotta stop. You got Rashad sick of y'all and these hybrid vehicles. It's not hybrid. The woke agenda got them being
sick of all EVs, man,
and electric efficient cars. What?
And your charging stations, sick of them all. Yeah, but I don't know if it's that, but there's definitely the excitement around it has changed and shifted over the past. I definitely since the pandemic, when Tesla was a thing to have, and you saw a lot of those vehicles on the road, the excitement around it has changed substantially, I would say.
Yeah, well, and then we need less clout chasing in sectors as well. If you're going to be now that Cadillac truck that I saw, not bad. But I think we need not more innovation, but we just need better products and better design vehicles. That's the number one thing that is going to move the litmus test on if people are going to buy it. Because Prius for a long time, it was eco-friendly. Most people don't even care about the environment enough to want to get anything EV related. When the tax
it did sound good though, and the commercials and the marketing was real colorful and it was nice. Yeah, but nobody really wanted to drive that. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's like when people say they're looking out for the culture, but like, bro, can they look out for you? I'm gonna stop. Okay, stop.
Not you, them.
Yeah, got you. But what do I know?
What's your target for the S&P by the end of next year?
Oh, baby, get your pens ready. I have to write this one down. I have the S&P by end of year going to either 53.3365, so $5,333.65, or 5,814.40. Election years are normally great. Caleb made a great point. Normally, when a stock market goes up 20%, the next year on average, you should expect it to go up between like 10 to 12%. Nvidia will continue to have a great run. This year, Apple, Microsoft, my babies. Hold on real quick. Let me bring this up. Amazon's up 75%. Apple's up 50%. Microsoft's on par for 47. Election year, the market is not going to fall unless we have like a huge geopolitical event or we have some other health-related worldwide illness that happens and affects the planet. But overall, the market is going to push up pretty high. So I have my target set. My highest target is 58.1440, where I will look to take some profit there. But on the lower end, 53.3365 is where I have the S&P going. And if I've made you money, please put yes in chat. It was a lot of talk, a lot of conjecture. Did he lose it? He's arrogant. He's pompous. He won't put on the suit. Him and Rashad won't fight. What else do y'all want from us? We got to hit the E-Trade button too. And hey,
hold.
Buy and hold.
Yeah.
Stay there.
Yeah, there was some reports. 5,300. I mean, most conservatives had it at 51, hitting 5,100 by year end of 24. So 5,300 wouldn't fit in the conservative range, but that's why you like it.
I'm gonna say this humbly.
Your name is your name.
They aren't me. I'm gonna just say it. Clip that part up. So when y'all do your little hate campaign, shout out to y'all. Listen, yeah, 5,300 is why I have it going. And the thing, like I always say, the market is rigged to, like, y'all just found out 2 years ago that the NFL script was rigged, right? As a WWE fan, you can see it. I told Pierre this weekend, you think it's coincidental that the Patriots won the year that 9/11 happened and then the Saints won after the levees broke? Okay. So the stock market deploys capital or the hedge funds into it. So if I buy this paper and it's an asset, I'm going to do everything in my power to have propaganda behind it to make sure that it stays up for a long period of time. Goodell, please don't resend my invite. I appreciate you. So me as an investor, I want to put my money alongside the whales that know these assets are going up. Do I still think a recession should be announced if they're playing by fair rules? Yes. But even in a recession, the market is only going to come down to favorable buy points that hedge funds want to buy into. And then the market will go up. But yeah, 5,300 is where I think we'll land at.
I think that was something that intelligent that Caleb kind of said, and we didn't elaborate on it, but he was like, look, we're looking at what sectors institutional investors are putting their money in. Right now it's AI, right? So retail is following institutions, right? And that's one of those rules. You have, like, if that's where the whales are, then you should be in there, right? The only time is that you just make sure that you're educated enough and you're doing as much research as possible to know, because they will exit. They will exit, and it won't be public news that they are exiting, but you got to know when. That's why you set your target price to make sure when to get in and get out of some of these investments or trades that you're making.
Everyone put in chat, investing is simple. Follow what the big boys do. Also, too, like, follow what Auntie Pelosi does. So I'll be looking forward to what trade she's making in January. I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled. Incredible track record, but investing is really easy. The hardest part, like you talked about, is sticking to plan. Even on Stock Club call Saturday, everyone was asking, like, how many trades did you end up taking for the year? It was less than 80. My guy Mike asked me, like, why don't you take more? And I'm like, once you hit your target, sometimes you have to know when to stop. You can overshoot or overstay the party too long. So make sure when you're writing your plan for next year, you write it when the market is closed. These are the number of trades I'm going to take. These are the number of companies I'm going to invest in. And I'm going to say for 2024, whatever money you put into the market for 2023, you need to double it for next year. You need to double it. Inflation is not coming down. These games they are playing with, how, like, for the first time in history, they're saying from their publications, man, it's better for y'all to rent than even buy our banking product. Houses are our banking product. Banks are telling you it's better to rent now. Inflation is going to keep creeping up. So,
what's your top trading tip for the year?
This is going to be a controversial one. I think most people should stop trading if you have not had success in the last 2 years, and use your trading setup to go into long-term investment. So if you're trading off an EMA or VWAP or RSI, if you've been trading the last 2 or 3 years and you have not seen traction and you're not following your plan, you're not being consistent, you should hang it up, but use that sniper skill set to buy assets for a long term. Once again, I don't know any traders on the face of the earth, maybe with the exception of Paul Tudor Jones, who makes more money trading than they would if they put the investments there long term. For those of you that have had traction, my top trading tip for you is always going to be the same. Pick the number of trades that you're going to do for next year. Write it down now. But also, you have to go learn how to trade other things. So for me next year, I'm looking at warrants, looking at options. I'm still keeping my futures bag. But now I want to add, because I want to run the entire trading totem pole. Forex, everyone in Forex, you're having some issues. I don't know what's going on with MT4. I don't know if regulations are going to come to the market, but when I'm seeing people's accounts are getting shut down or they're frozen, that is never a good sign. So as a hedge, you have to learn how to be able to trade everything. But if trading is not going well for you, I say it's time to wrap it up and use that skill set to buy your position for the long term so you can become wealthy. And I'm not saying it because I don't want y'all to win and don't want y'all to have money. Ian don't want to get off his throne, all that.
He said if it ain't working the past 2 years, hang it up. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But, I mean, if you think about it, right, from a perspective standpoint, always look at perspective. You have a pullback or a bear market like we did in 2022, right? So if that's when you started, you had the NASDAQ down 30%.
Yes.
Right. S&P down nearly 20%.
Yes.
Dow same thing. If you started in 2022, there should be gains in your portfolio.
You should be up.
You should definitely be up
and stuck.
So I hear it sounds harsh, but I understood it right away what you're saying, right? Like if you're coming from that, if you're starting at the bottom and we saw some appreciation over the past 18 months, then you should have some gains as well. If you didn't, then something went wrong. Something vitally went wrong.
You was messing up. Like if you can't score on a 7-foot rim, the little peewee, bruh. And it's okay because you end up making more anyway. I know people like to cap on Instagram, but look, most people who are posting a whole bunch of games are not. For most people, it's not materializing the way that you think. Just invest for the long term, and you'll be good. Now, if you have been dedicated and you have been disciplined, like you said, to give perspective, or if you're going to follow a plan going into 2023, great, keep at it. But even for me, like it took me a while to get my formulation down. But like in my first year, I had success though. I wasn't like 2 years in with losses and like drawdowns all year. But if it's not working out for you, you definitely should go to long term and maybe come back when you're more disciplined. Even trading has gotten a lot easier too, just by following a plan and blocking out all noise. Like now, I don't want to talk to anyone when I trade. It's not about the indicators; it's really about the plan. Once again, use one short target, then follow up by using a long target. Like my short target is like a cash flow trade. My long target like helps move big alpha in my account and gives me higher percentages. Stick with that plan, you'll be good. Most people should do 24 trades a year, be done, and call it a day.
What about Uber? Hit a 52-week high recently, and it's about to get put into the S&P 500. So, what's your thoughts on Uber?
Troy, no, Mike, bring me back here. Troy, shout to Dara.
I would like you to be mindful of the rooms that you're in.
Shout to Dara. Shout to everybody at Uber. I'm learning.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you starting there.
Yes. had a good time seeing him work the room, right?
Yes.
Shout to Brady.
Yes.
Caping segment is brought to you by supercape.com. Them being included into the S&P 500 is going to be good for them. I'm not saying that to be in favor with them, but and Uber Eats, me and Rashad talked about this before. It may be one of my top 5 apps that I use. Like I don't love the margins there, but I do think them being included in the company that they replaced, they definitely deserve to. So I think this will definitely give them a boost. If we do have those 3 or 4 rate cuts, you should see the stock go up. Like they are very dependent on inflation and how sensitive the inflationary environment is. I wouldn't put it in my top 25, but I do think them being included into the S&P 500 is going to give them a boost next year. And I'm not just saying that because of we was in the room with Dara, but they definitely deserve to replace the company that was booted out in exchange for them.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're saying the S&P is going to 5,300, this even makes more sense, right? Like if they're part of that index, then they should have
They should get a 15% bump easy.
easy, right? If it's going
Yeah.
that far, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Uber. Would you consider? I guess this would be a great question for both of you since you use it. Would you consider it a need-based business for you personally?
For me, it is because I can't cook. I would say it's a need-based light transpo company. The only thing I don't love it. Let me look at the margins real quick. Is if the margins were better, I would be more in favor of it. That's the only thing that keeps me from loving the business. They've done better, like on the safety concerns, but. Let me see, Uber. But yeah, I would qualify as a needs-based business. Profit margin negative 28.6%. Gross margin is 38.33%. Return on equity is not bad, 12%. And the EBITDA margin is 3.4%. So if they find some ways to like make those margins better, I would be favorable on it for sure.
Yeah, and there's still room for growth from global expansion. So there's still some points that they have to gain more revenue.
Yeah. Dar look like he a body slam me, ain't it? Like, I'm like, he look like Brian Pillman or something. I'm like, he look stocky. All right.
Hello to all our friends over there. How are you doing?
Kudos.
All right. Get your tickets to Market Mondays, Ghana.
Yes.
That is happening next Tuesday. Very, 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 very important. Get your tickets. We will be out there in the motherland bringing out New Year's.
Excited about it.
Any other topics you want to talk about? Yeah.
I know you're not feeling well. I do want to go through. Barron's released their top 10.
Can we do that? I was gonna say, can we do that? I got you,
Yes.
Shadi. All right. So Barron's they released their top 10 stocks of 2024. Which of the picks from their 2024 list do you like, or should we stay away from? So I guess the good, bad, the ugly from what they said based on your professional opinion, Ian. So I'll run down some of the names and then you do your part, right?
Okay.
All right. So let's start with Alibaba.
Absolutely not. I haven't seen Jack Ma. I love the company. And if Alibaba, please write this down. Outside of the inverted yield curve, the number one indicator that I'm looking for that the economy is back to being fine is Alibaba and Chinese stocks have an uptick consistently. I like it if it gets to $37. At 17, I love. I'm not saying that it's going that far, but 37, I love it. But because of the geopolitical stuff, and I haven't seen Jack Ma, there's no way you can invest in Alibaba. No way.
All right. Let's go to Google.
Love. Like if Apple was not here, Google would be my number one. So yes, I love Google. Probably third in that tech race, but they're going to be great. I know everyone's worried about if AI is going to cut into their search margin. One thing Google has always been able to do, they've always been able to find ways to cut into different sectors and find a way to keep that profit margin high in search. And I think AI may even make the search better, and it will favor them long term. So Google, I love.
Yeah, we kind of went over that. Was that last week? We were talking about the integration process where it's not a plugin. It's actually going to be part of the Google ecosystem. All right, let's talk about Barrick Gold.
Will it be a stock of 2024? Technically, all long-term assets go up, so I will put it in there. It wouldn't be in my top 10. I would probably have it 12th, but yes, for gold.
All right. Berkshire Hathaway B, not to be confused with A.
I like VOO better. Rest in peace, Charlie. Love Warren, so I can't say no to Warren. If I have to pick between Berkshire and VOO, I'm picking VOO, but Berkshire is good.
All right, let's go to biotech.
Absolutely not. No way, no how. Rob Parker. No way. Like in 2024, if it is not tier 1 great investment, we're not touching it. No room for speculation.
Not doing it. We talked about oil and gas. Chevron is on their list. What's your thoughts?
Everyone can do what they choose to do. Shout out to the good folks over at Chevron and all the dinosaurs that you turn into fuel for our cars. I appreciate you. Am I getting better? But I won't be invested in Chevron in 2024.
Chevron, that was another interesting one, and we had this probably early on in our Market Mondays history. We gave it the vital sign of not going to survive. Hertz is on their list. Hertz Global Holdings. What's your thoughts?
How did this make the list?
I'm interested to
Out
know.
of all, they could have picked. I would have picked Dogecoin over this. I'm not even gonna lie. You could have gave me Safe Moon. You can give me any of those altcoins. No, Hertz. I'm glad that they're still surviving, and Leroy is still in critical condition as a result. But no, Hertz, hell no, under no circumstances.
That was an interesting one. The next one they had was MSG, Madison Square Garden Sports, owned by James Dolan. People get confused. They think that, all right, he just owns the Knicks and the Rangers. He actually owns Madison Square Garden Sports, which just put the Sphere out in Las Vegas. They actually own that as well. What's your thoughts on MSG?
Shout to Dolan, Blanco Hefe, but no, I'm not investing in MS. I'll see how you manage a team. Shout to Jalen. Jalen been killing, but if you manage a team like that, and that's public facing, I can only manage it what the management is like behind the scenes. You wouldn't let Oakley sit at all the games. No, I'm good. I'm
You're
good
not doing that.
No.
Yeah, they have an interesting business structure. MSG, the
Dictatorship
structure. Interesting structure. I mean, when we talk about New York Transit and the role that they play inside of that as well. So if you're not familiar with MSG, I would definitely do the research on that company. The next one they have is PepsiCo. What's your thought?
I actually like Pepsi a lot, especially for the space they're in that food and beverage space. Great management, like the CEO. Well run. Yeah, I like Pepsi.
Pepsi's a good one. And the final one on their 10 was U-Haul.
I was shocked at this one that it made the list, but when I looked at the chart and looked at the business, I like this one. At 45.93 is where I would like to buy in. Like Caleb said, the stock market and economy are two different things. The stock is doing incredibly well. Margins are decent in the business, but also too, it's one of those utility businesses that will not go away. And as rent is going up, and people are moving out of homes, time to move is going to come quick, and U-Haul is probably the most trusted and well-known brand in that space. It's definitely a good investment. I like it at 45.93.
Those are their top 10.
Yeah.
So, probably not my top 10. I think Google
wouldn't be my top 10. My 2024 list I'll do end of January for top stock of the year when we get back.
I think Google might have been the only one in that 10 that I probably would have had.
Yeah.
My
final question for you guys: what is a top business lesson that you guys have used or learned this year that's had the biggest impact on your business? And if you can't share, I totally understand. I might clip this out.
For sure. Being able to have enough vision to see bigger than what you currently are, and you got to find different verticals how to actually make money and expand. You never really get really rich from what you're actually doing. Like even if you look at Jay or Ye or any billionaire from hip hop, they never really got billionaire status from rapping or music. They made billions from liquor, or they made billions from clothing or different things like that. So being able to use your influence to actually spread out and invest in different companies and see different opportunities and stuff like that, I think is extremely, extremely important. And just having enough vision to see that it's not the finish line. It's only whatever you're thinking is pretty small in the grand scheme of things. So you got to have enough vision to understand that you can't focus on small things, only focus on big things. So try to do things to just make a couple $100,000 or $1 million. That's not really no real money in the grand scheme of things. So
what's real money? Let's have a talk.
100 million or $1 billion. That's like something that's real money. So it's like it's kind of hard to get people to understand that. Most people, they just want to just focus on small things and run a mediocrity race. But when you
I like the version of you when you sick, Shook Shotty.
When you focus on the big things and you understand how the game is played on the highest level. So for us, just being able to have opportunities to talk to billionaires and people that's running companies and stuff like that, you start to have a different perspective on things. And, just look at things a little differently. Pride and ego is something that's extremely it's a deadly sin for a reason. Pride is one of the 7 deadly sins. And the reason why it's one of the 7 deadly sins is that it could kill you. So, you know, if you're too prideful or you have too much ego, you know, most of the time people that are extremely prideful have tremendous ego. It didn't really work out for them. And, you know, we'd even look at like hip hop culture. You know, there's a lot of people that are very revered in our culture, but very prideful people, and they're great people. You know, some of them are actually our friends, but it didn't really work out for them ultimately because their ego and their pride got the best of them. And now they're actually just living off of old memories. And nobody wants to be a has-been in life. That's something that's extremely important. Like, you know, you want to, you know, maximize the time that you have on top, because you never know how long you're going to have the time on top. So you want to maximize that. But it'll be extremely, you know, unbeneficial if you squander that moment, you know, with petty fighting and insecurities and stuff like that. Then you look back on it like 10 years later, it's like, damn, that's not going to happen again. You had your opportunity. God blessed you with a tremendous opportunity to change your life, to change your family's life. And then you look back on it like, damn, that wasn't even really worth it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, damn, I wish I could have done things differently. And like I said, we actually have the opportunity to see that firsthand from people that we know personally in hip hop world. And, you know, a wise person learns from the mistakes of others. So I think it's extremely beneficial and vital for people to look at other people's mistakes, other people's shortcomings, and not let that happen to them.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I didn't expect you to go there, but
yeah, I mean, I'll turn it into the world of investing, because I think from a business standpoint, everything Shai just said makes a lot of sense, and it speaks to kind of our relationship, but it speaks to Earning Leisure as a company in totality. From an investment standpoint, though, I would be mindful of the mistakes that you make and how you can learn and adjust from them. And I'll take it back. And if you watch Market Mondays, you go back to 2021. I was big on Salesforce, CRM. I was talking about the investment in Slack. I invested it, and then what happens in 2022? NASDAQ pulls back, Salesforce pulls back. And I lost on that investment, but what I did gain was the knowledge of that sector, right? And so now I'm more familiar with CRMs and what they can do. Fast forward to this year, I never stopped looking at Salesforce as a great company, but what it did is open it up to other companies. And so in Chicago, when I was able to talk about HubSpot, it was because of what I saw Salesforce do. And so when we talk about AI and the AI ecosystem, there are plenty of sectors that are going to be available for gains, right? We're talking about media, we're talking about cloud space, but we're talking about enterprise, and inside of enterprise is our CRMs. And so when we think about who's the largest, obviously Salesforce, but who do they cater to? They big corporations. Well, who speaks for the everyday person? Who's the CRM that does that? And that led me right to HubSpot. And so that was one of the best investments I made. But had I not made the mistake of investing in 2021 in CRM, I don't know what that company is, and I don't know what the sector does.
Yeah.
And so when I looked at it, I'm like, all right. And I gave you this comparison, Ian, earlier. I'm like, well, how would I explain this to the everyday person, what this is comparable to? I was like, oh, I think I got it, right? If we're talking about the early 90s of the technology boom and the internet, we're talking about a company like IBM, right? Where they have stuff that are specifically designed for corporate accounts and enterprise functioning. That works. But for the everyday person, what are they using, right? Because they may not be able to use IBM. Well, here comes this thing called Microsoft Office. And now that can be used by the everyday person in their homes and, you know, in their small office, small business.
More cost efficient. Yeah.
And it's way more cost efficient. And so this is the similar type style when we're talking about CRM. So Salesforce is that enterprise, but HubSpot becomes that everyday person, small business, affordable option for people that are looking for CRMs. And so that's why I know, like I talked about why I did the investment. I was looking at the charts, but understanding that industry was what led me to having one of the best returns that I've had this year. So learning from the mistakes, being able to adjust, but realizing like, all right, this sector still is going to mean something. How can you take advantage of it? So learning from your mistakes would be my biggest lesson of the year out on a personal level inside the world of investing.
I love it. Really quick, the last 10 years, NVIDIA is up 13,000%. Bitcoin is up 4,000. AMD is up 3,000. Tesla up 2,000. Microsoft up 1,000. Apple up 1,000. Netflix up 700%. Amazon 676%, Meta up 523, and Google is up 400%. Hold for 10 years. Please put in chat what 4 stocks will you hold for the next 10 years. I can't believe next year gonna be 4 years.
Yeah, man. 4 years.
Crazy.
51 weeks a year.
Crazy.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
You're supposed to be number one on everybody's list, right?
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
BlackRock, give me a call, man. Let's set something up.
These are just our thoughts and opinions at the time. There's no personal vendors towards any company. We're just giving our thoughts and opinions.
So after Jay put out the album, he took over Def Jam, right? Man, we need to find some take over.
Black Album.
After Black Album, got you. Okay.
Yeah. After he retired, then he came back with the Kingdom Come joint.
Got you. Oh,
Yeah.
I ain't like that album.
Yeah, we forgave him for that.
Yeah, it's okay.
Intro's hard.
Absolutely.
Intro's hard.
Yeah. Show me what you got. Still much.
Beach chairs on there. We got some joints.
Yeah, got some joints. Rashad, quit letting these people cough on you.
Yeah, don't call for me, man. I'm gonna have to Lysol this whole place. Yo, man, it's been real. I'll tell you one thing about 2023, what it did, right? With all of the information that's been given, all the love that's been poured, even some of the people who haven't had the kindest things to say about us, it has brought our brotherhood even closer.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, people, yeah, we do this show, but we just really enjoy each other's company. So like being able to bond, being able to travel the world, be able to relax amongst ourselves as brothers, man. I think it's only intensified our love for each other, man. So, and I'm proud to say that. Like, I feel like, man, we can say that to each other. So I love y'all. 2023 was incredible. I know we're going to Africa next week to really top it off, but 2024 going to be more immaculate, man. So I'm happy to share this with everybody that's watching, and I'm happy to share it with y'all, man. I wouldn't want to be on this journey with any other dudes, man. So love is love.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate the bond. I will say that it's made us closer than ever. I know some of y'all hate it. Ain't nothing y'all can do. We can do Pod Wars whenever y'all want. We can do the complex list of who making what whenever y'all want. Yeah, let's get to it. $17.50 per 1,000 streams, boy. Y'all are digital prostitutes. I hear you loud and clear.
Hey, I am trying to end it on a high note. Hi, Mom.
We've all been there. Yeah, see, it's my fault. Mom and Dad, I brought the suit back. I was trying to be good. No leather jacket. Troy, can you end this on a high note? Can we end with like a hymn or a prayer or something?
Yo, man, continue to do the research. Continue to share the research, and when it's good research, give it to somebody in desperate need of it. You never know, man. One piece of information can change your life. So imagine what 51 weeks can do. Imagine what 4 years can do. And that's what we've been doing, man. So again, I'm proud that everybody that's tuned in, all the thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of people that have tuned into Market Mondays over the course of the 4 years, it's been an incredible run, and we're not stopping. We got a lot more to give because information happens every day, and so we're gonna give it to y'all the way we know best.
Yeah, Merry Christmas if you're celebrating Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa if you observing Kwanzaa. Happy New Year's as we head into a new year. We're gonna be in Ghana.
Happy birthday to my cousin Ariel as well.
Sure. Happy birthday. We're gonna be in Ghana, man. A lot of y'all can't get visas, and we're not talking about the credit card. Shout out to Visa though. But
shout to the ain't it? Shout to Visa.
Yes, you shout out to them.
You can't be where I be, dog. You need a visa. Y'all never seen Tape London packed to capacity, 3,000 people outside, 20 degrees outside, Toronto, Canada, like a certain
line wrapped around crazy, right?
Just remember, you'll always be a nobody.
Never forget.
It's important.
Never forget.
Bitcoin, Ethereum.
Never forget that part.
Dogecoin. We're gonna just name it all the assets. Buy real estate, buy media.
Amazon's looking like a great stock next year.
IWM looking great. XLK, XLI.
Yes, man. Yes.
Kudos. Thank you to all the guests that we've had on this year. That's how you be feeling when the tension got you.
Nah, man, it's good, man. We always good, man. Trust me. Yeah, shout out to all the guests that appeared on the show,
Yes.
and added so much value, man. And we got more. We got so much more. That's the crazy part. We got more. We just gonna make this thing better every time we get new ideas. We able to implement them because nobody controls us, so we can make our own decisions.
Big facts. And I'm going back over charts come January too. So
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I'm bring my chart swag back. And I'm bringing the leather jacket back one or two times next year.
Oh man, pineapple juice.
I'm in such a happy place though. Like this is what I learned too.
It was the pineapple juice was this year, right?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, what's my favorite moment for Market Mondays?
Yeah.
And it might have been the pineapple juice. I think it was you was in Puerto Rico, maybe. I think we had came back from Puerto Rico. You were still there.
Yeah.
And one of the best moments in 2023 for sure.
Fun. Told a lot of truth prophecy of my first joint.
Yeah.
Hey, but I learned like
was the paperwork joint 23 too?
No, that was 22. Get your paperwork in order. Oh my God.
Classic.
Yeah. Classic moments. Classic moment.
Classic. Well, we
gotta bring the monologue.
That's what I'm saying. What top monologue of the year? We gotta probably put something out. We gotta have our own list. The top monologue of the year. Which one got the craziest traction?
I think middle class mindset.
That one got you in some trouble.
That was huge.
Yeah, that definitely got you in. That got you in some
conversation. Turn your comments off.
Middle class mindset didn't get me to the one that was controversial with the $10 million. You need $10 million to have financial freedom.
I'm talking not in trouble, but like, yo, why you say that? Like
middle class mindset.
Probably that one.
That was received pretty good. Middle class mindset. I think that's what Jill Scott had posted. That video. Middle class mindset. There was a few monologues that were the Jay-Z one that I would take the dinner with Jay-Z, which I still stand by that.
I don't care what Jay says. I'm taking the dinner.
But like I said, there's a rationale behind that. Yeah. But shout out to Hove. Shout out to Joe Button podcast.
Yes.
Ish. You my dog. And I'll know when you better come up here in January, like you promised. You done went to see the thing is and
shout out to Joe Button podcast. Shout out to Cam and Mace's show. I actually like that show a lot.
I do too.
Mace was a little flimsy with a situation that we had, but what can you do? I'm still actually supporter of the show. I like the show, but he got a little weird.
Bro, when we travel, that's what we watching. We watching either Joe or we watching It Is What It Is. So shout out to Cam, shout out to Mace, shout out to Stat Baby. Love it.
Yeah, shout out to their show. Like I said, Cam, I've always been a fan since Dipset. I really like what they going on. I like Mace too. He's just acted a little weird about a situation. But maybe he didn't have the right information. Who knows? What other podcasts out there? Shout out to Loon. Good dude.
Shannon Sharp.
Nightcap is crazy. I just watched it last night.
That's one of my favorites.
I watched it last night with they had Prom on there.
With Dion,
that was crazy.
My man said I'm in a portal.
Nah, he went different. I never heard that.
Who, Dion?
Yeah.
Nah, shit, like Shay. Uncle went crazy.
Yeah, shout out to him. Who else out there
that we watching?
I don't really watch. Shout out to Noriega, Drink Champs for sure. They just had AZ on. I gotta watch that episode. But shout out to Nori and
shout out to Yee,
DJ EFN. Shout out to Angela Yee. Shout out to Charlemagne the God.
Yep, absolutely.
And everything that he's been able to put forth and really just save that whole situation single-handedly has been pretty remarkable. So shout out to Charlemagne.
And who we should shout out? And huge shout out. Shout out to SH. Shout out to Steve Harvey. It kind of gets overlooked every year that he just dominates radio. But he does, right? He's the most listened to guy. So shout out to him and everything that he's done for us and our development of our brand, obviously, with InvestFest as well. So shout out to him. Shout out to the whole SH team, BD, Brandon, a whole team. Shout out to y'all.
Yeah.
We showed up to Lake Como on a black tie event with no black tie or no black clothes.
All the smoke too. Shout out to all the smoke.
Yeah.
Those my people.
Oh, and 85, of course.
Oh, I'll show 85.
85.
The family chat. I appreciate you.
Fly.
I got to fly some stocks too. Yeah.
Shout out to 85 South for sure. Shout out to Good Moms, Bad Decisions.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nav Green.
Nav is hilarious.
Shout out to the ladies. What's their show on 85 South?
Poor Minds.
Poor Minds.
Shout out to Poor Minds. Every show that we went on this year, man.
Shout out to Horrible Decisions.
Yeah, they invited us.
Mandy cooking.
Yeah, Mandy's cooking. Everybody, man. Everybody that started the show this year, man. I love watching everybody's growth, man. Everybody taking that venture. It's not an easy thing to do. So I applaud everybody. Shan, shout out to Shans.
Shout out to Math Hoffa.
Yeah, everybody, man. Killing it.
Shout out to Math Hoffa.
Shout out Mikey. Mikey been putting out a lot of content.
Shout
out Mikey.
I was going there. Shout out to Mike, man. Shout out to Mike. What he's doing with social media right now. He's hit an algorithm, man. So shout out to him, all the work he's been doing. I know it's tough. But his growth, I personally call him to tell him that I'm proud of him about the growth I've seen him not even as a creator, but as a man. Because this is my brother, so like I'm watching him grow. It's a beautiful thing. Even like as a father, now as a fiance, as a businessman. Shout out to him.
Yeah,
for sure.
Shout out Crew Season is one of my favorite shows. I know it's a lot of men versus women topics, but like the way he approaches it is real dope. Crew Season. Yeah, they got a dope show. They got a real dope show.
Shout out to all the shows out there, that's been putting in work. Oh, of course, High Level Conversations.
Oh my gosh!
Shout out to 19 Keys, killing the game. As always, man. Shout out to 19 Keys. High Level Conversations needed, very very important.
Yeah,
it's needed.
Yep,
it's needed. So shout out to 19 Keys and his show for sure. And shout out to
you making that jump shot Miami too.
Oh, I had no choice. They put me on the spot.
Put you on the spot. Yeah.
Put me on the spot. One shot.
You got to show up, perform with that one shot, right?
One shot kill. That's it, man. Sniper. But yeah, it's been real. It's been an eventful year.
Yeah, it has.
Invest Fest. We might do Invest Fest next year. We might not. Who knows?
You on some bullshit today. Oh my God.
Perhaps.
Might not.
Whatever.
Perhaps.
Give you 6 billionaires and you want to complain about.
No, that's not. We're not ending it like that.
In the marketplace.
We don't gotta end it. We can have this.
No, we're gonna end it.
We can have fun. Shawty, I got you back screen. What's up?
The same thing that we started. Love, man. Always love, man. Even if you wish us the opposite, man. Much success to you.
What can we do to foster a culture of appreciation?
Leave. You gotta leave. Hey, that's the only thing people respect is absence. So you gotta leave. Sometimes you just gotta leave.
Yeah.
Let it all fall apart.
Yep.
Honestly.
See, I took off the suit. We're talking about futures. I don't see that much. I feel you. Where we gonna go? Abu Dhabi, Dubai?
Yeah,
perhaps.
For sure. I'm never gonna appreciate things until they don't have it anymore. That's just human nature.
Perhaps.
Not everybody, but a lot of people. So just gotta leave.
To make them pack up strategy after they want to pack work every time.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
All right, y'all. This is it, man. This is it. 2023. It's a wrap, man. Love to everybody. We appreciate y'all for rocking with us, for trusting us more importantly, but for also using the information to your benefit. Love is love. We'll catch y'all.
Shout out to Tabidi too.
That's right. Shout out to BD. I got BD.
Okay.
Yeah. Love is love, man. We'll see y'all 2024. Be safe, man. Love each other.
I'm gonna miss y'all so much.